Today we are going to polish it. So I'm going to start to make more user-friendly features and so on. And we'll start with the logo. I'm going to make a simple logo that will act also as a title screen. I just thought about this idea a few minutes ago. So if you search for wind icon, this is the kind of thing that you are going to get most common. So I'm going to draw something like this in, I just use PowerPoint because I don't have any other vector graphics software installed. And I'm going to draw a circle and a line. So circle and a line here. And they are going to get now white filling and a black outline. So with the black outline, I'm just going to make it thicker. So now in this case, I need to position this thing in this location. And I'm not going to be very precise when drawing this. I'm going to put a small white rectangle on top of everything here. So white rectangle with no outline, it's going to mask this part from here. So more or less to look like a spiral starts to form. Now I group this element and I copy it here like that. That's it more or less. And another one, I will go to arrange, rotate and flip vertical. And I will have something like this now. And what I'm going to do now is move this, this line to make it smaller. Move this line, arrange it next to the other one. But this line, I'm going to increase its length. I'm going to make it very long. And it will underline the logo. So I don't know how it will look like, but so I'm going to put the title screen part of the logo somehow. Maybe bold, something like that. The spacing here I somehow want to keep as a decent spacing. Okay, maybe this can be higher, have here this equal spacing part. Okay, so this is more or less going to be the logo of the app. And it's important to have a logo. So people need to somehow identify the application and yeah. So what I do now is I copy it, Ctrl-C. And when I paste it, I will paste it as an image file. So now it's transforming the vector graphic into a raster graphic. And you can see here the problems with the filling. So my filling is going to be white in this case. But PowerPoint has this option of set transparent color. So I'm going to set the transparent color, this white from here. And now it's gonna be a transparent PNG. So the good thing about PowerPoint is that it is a vector editing software, vector graphics editing software. It can be, even though it's not marketed as one. And I can output any size I want this logo. For now, I'm just gonna keep whatever I drew here and see how it looks like. So I'm going to save this file by save as picture, and I'm going to put it on the desktop, wind logo, something like that. And I save the file. I go to the directory where our application is being built, and I will copy it just here in the root directory. It's gonna be the only image that we use, I think. So I'm not gonna make an images directory for it, but you should. Okay, and we will add it at some point in the source code of the application. So I'm not gonna close this in case it needs some editing, but I move back to the source code of the application, and let's see what we had from yesterday. So refreshing the page, we have a loading screen. A small issue is that I actually need the function for getting the bounds from markers. This is something that I said is obsolete and we don't need it anymore. But we do, because now the zoom level doesn't adapt to where the information is. So this was used at least for that purpose. Like that. And now if I refresh the page, it's going to show much nicer without the need of the extra clicks for zooming in. Now, one issue that you will see is that, for instance here, one of these red markers is actually on top of this A marker, even though other ones are not. And same can happen for B as well. And this effect seems to be random sometimes, like in different situations you get more of them, in some situations you have less. So this can be fixed with the, if we go to the add marker function that creates A and B, we can set a Z index value that is quite high. I don't know if this is the proper way to do it, but when we add these red markers, each of them will increase the Z index. So it starts at 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on until maybe 20 or how many are here. So if we are going to initialize it with just a really, really big number here, I don't know if this is the proper way to do it, but the artifact is going to go away. So this A and B now are going to be on top of the red markers. You may think that this is a small issue, like so what? But actually it had big usability problems, because if one red marker would be on top here, if I would click it and want to drag A, I couldn't drag A because that marker would be on top of it, blocking my intent. So one small red marker on top there, let's try to simulate it now. So this small red marker here, if I click on it, I'm not going to be able to drag A. I'm actually dragging the map. And this happens very, very easily on a mobile device. So now I want to drag A, but I can't. So I try to drag A, but my finger would be just too big and I couldn't. B is okay. I could drag B because there's no red marker on top. So you see how these very, very small issues can impact your usability. Like now with the fix done, I can drag A without a problem on any screen size, because there's nothing on top blocking the interaction. Okay, so now what we are going to do is display the wind direction. So this is something we haven't done at all. I want to show the properties. How windy is it today in Joensuu in this case? And for that I want to display an arrow. I want to show an arrow that it has an angle. The angle given by the weather API. And for that we could use different techniques. We could use the canvas to draw the arrow, for example. But I found a solution that uses something else, and I think it's a good idea for you to learn that this is also possible. So draw arrow HTML, I think this is how I found it. And the solution is to use the SVG component. So SVG is more or less an image format that allows you to draw a vector image into an element. So we have the SVG tag here. And what I did, I'm not gonna implement this now, I already did before. What I did is this angle that the arrow is going to point is specified here in these coordinates. So I wrote a piece of code that takes a given angle and generates this kind of string that the SVG component expects for the angle there. Otherwise, I just copied this text, but it now looks, I will show just in 1 second, it now looks just slightly different. So this text here is copied from there, but this direction string, so the one that will tell me in which direction the arrow is being drawn, it's now coming from another function which calculates it based on the angle degree information coming from the weather API. So I remind you here now that we have this situation. The zero angle comes from the top and then it goes clockwise. So this is very different from the typical trigonometric circle that starts to the right with zero and moves counterclockwise. So I'm not going to explain this function very much, but what I did here are tricks to get it to look properly, because the angle measurement that I used to draw the arrow is offset and rotation is different. So you can check it, but it's nothing critical that I think you would ever use in your project, so I'm not going to insist on it. So this show wind info is going to generate this SVG component from the degree of the wind, the global variable, and it's going to put it in a div that doesn't yet exist, this wind info here. So this wind info, I need to make space for it. And now it should do something. So if I refresh the page and if I call the function show wind info, it's gonna draw me the arrow, and it's also going to show me the meters per second, the speed of the wind today. So the speed is also here. I just print it with the meters per second after I'm drawing the arrow. Nothing too fancy here. What I forgot to copy also, and I just don't want to spend more time on, is the style of this wind info. So you notice now it's moving my map to the bottom, sliders appear. I want it to be in a corner on top of the map. So I'm gonna copy this here at the top in the CSS area, in the style. And if I'm gonna call the function now, it will look like this. I also scaled this font here to be proportional to the viewport size. So if, for example, we will have a smaller screen size, the font size will be smaller, and the arrow is also smaller. You can check to see how I did that if interested. So now we know that the wind blows in this direction, which is quite nice. But one problem that we have here is that this component is overlapping the map type selector, and it doesn't look good. I mean, these are probably going to be disabled all the time. I don't consider satellite view necessary for this kind of application. I don't consider the full screen because it's anyway going to fill the screen on mobile device. Street view is probably not very important either. I mean, why would you use street view in this application? In my opinion, they are just buttons that you may accidentally press on your phone because they are on the side of the screen. Maybe when you hold your device like this, you may accidentally press on the buttons at the side of the screen. So to me they are nice functionalities, they are very powerful tools, but not for this specific application. So I'm going to disable them from the map. To disable them from the map, I'm going to go to here where we generate it, and I'm going to add some properties which I don't remember. But we can open the reference this time. So map options in Google Maps. There is a map options interface, and this one has here many different properties and methods. It starts with the methods, but okay, the properties should include all of them if we read carefully, but I'm going to try. Okay, full screen control. This is the thing here on the top right corner. I could keep it, it's not bothering me. I think it's rare that you would touch the top part of your screen accidentally. But I don't think it's going to be needed. So I'm going to set it to false. Then another thing I need to set to false is the map type control. So this is the satellite or the map from here. This is important because I don't think you would need satellite, but also because this is overlapping it, so it looks bad and it disables some functionality. And then the street view. So the street view control. So all of these are Boolean values, and you can see that Google enables them by default because they want their features to be used, and it's a small form of advertising, more or less. But it's in a good way, I think. Okay, so let's save the file and refresh the page. So now they are gone from here. I kept this zoom in and zoom out. The wind info, I should actually copy this function and call it when the wind information becomes available, because that's what we need to do anyway. So when the weather request finishes, I'm going to show the wind info once the object is defined. So refreshing the page now plots that automatically. Can you guess why I decided to keep these, even though, well, I can zoom with the wheel, I can zoom by pinching. One thing I can't do right now very well is zoom by double clicking. And this is because when I double click, a new marker is going to come from the clicking on the marker event, on the map event. So this is something that has been disabled. But can you guess why I kept these buttons here? No.
For people with old phones that don't have touchscreen?
I don't know. I mean, the buttons, you need to press them with the touch screen, otherwise it won't work. But multi-touch may be some support that would be lacking, but I wouldn't consider it an issue. I think all phones nowadays allow the multi-touch. But what I find is that if your hands are using gloves, or if your phone is slightly wet, multi-touch becomes harder to detect properly. Like it starts to fidget around very much. And in that case, having a single button to press like this for zooming in could actually be a benefit. But it's a small thing. It could also harm because it's in the lower bottom corner. So I don't know if it's the best thing to keep it there, but yeah, from usability point of view, it can help these times. Okay, so now we have, what do we have? We have the wind info showing nicely. We are lacking the title. So let's prepare the title now. I'm going to make another div here for the title, and let's put inside the image we created and see how it looks like. Wind logo.png. Okay, I'm gonna save the file, refresh the page, and do something about it. So the title is here. It's gonna need similar styling probably as, well, let's make a new style for it. So we're gonna put its position absolute, so now it's not moving the the map. Then it needs to have a z-index that is going to be higher than the map. But now the question is, do we want it to be on top of the loading screen when the loading screen comes? And I think that this is probably better. So to keep it on top of the loading screen, because the title should be always visible, or I don't know. It's also wasting space in a way. So if we want it on top of the loading screen, we should put 2 because the loading screen has 1. So now when I drag this, I can still see the title. If I put 1, I don't really know what happens, but they can't both be 1. So you see, in this case, it prioritizes the loading screen. I'm gonna put 2 and consider it always on top. Now, the width of this logo, I would make it I would like to make it like that, but apparently it doesn't work. I think that I need to set the image inside, the size of the image inside the div also. So okay. It's something. My design skills are not the best. I just know that they need to be done. Otherwise, application just looks boring. So in the title, I think we could put the text align to center. and the width, maybe we can put it to 100%. Yeah, so now what will happen is that it's going to use the entire screen, but it's going to align the image in the center part of the screen. Also very important here is now the title, even though it's there, it's not blocking much, I can see through it, it impacts usability. So if you want to drag your map, it's fine, but if I'm going to drag it from where the title is, I can't do it. And I can't even drag from here because this title is actually covering all that part and blocking my interactivity. So we could set here these pointer events to none. That means that this div will not be affected by the will not look for the mouse when clicking there. So this looks now, I think, decent enough. I'm going to copy this as the title style, and remember here to put, let's see if this works. Well, let's give it an ID also. Logo image. So our title element is gonna have these properties, and the logo image so the width is more or less 50%. I think you can give it also as 50 VW, but it's gonna mean the same thing. So now, last issue is this loading screen is coming over my beautiful logo there. I think what I need to do is in the show loading, so I'm gonna start loading artificially now just to be able to style this situation. I'm going to say that I want my loading to have a margin on the top. Okay, I will change a little bit something. So let's first set a margin. I'm going to put, let's try 4V min. Okay, not a margin because now it makes the map visible here. It needs a padding. So padding, it's almost similar effect, but it moves just the content there. So I'm gonna put the loading below the logo, but I want to now use this 18V min from here to be the height of the logo, so that the loading is always gonna be just below the logo. Now my logo is decided based on the width of the screen, and that's a problem. I can also make the loading font size smaller because now it's overwhelming. It's like bigger than the title of the page. So 6 is probably fine. I'm going to go back here to the loading. I'm gonna say font size 6. I'm going to say padding top 18, minimum of the width and height of the viewport, a % value. And then I need to, the logo image here, I want to have its height be the same, so 18 V min, and this should look proper now. Yeah, so you can see when I'm loading, the loading appears just below that, and it looks okay. Okay. I think we can have a 10-minute break, and during the break I'm not going anywhere. You can talk to me and tell me things that you think should be different, or ask questions or anything. And yeah, but we can meet after 10 minutes, so 5 past. Okay, so let's start with this sheltered regions, so regions that are behind the buildings. I'm going to try to calculate those somehow. So let's see how that one would look like. Okay, so after the update context function finishes, and okay, we hide the loading and we also show the windy regions on the route. But before we show the windy regions, let's compute or generate shaded regions. And by shaded region, I just mean a place where you don't get so much wind. I'm going to put this same thing here. Now this place starts to look like I should create a function for it, but I'm not gonna do it now. I will write a comment though, because it's important to know that this is happening twice. So now the function generate shaded regions. I'm gonna go through all the buildings. You know, I should go through all the forests as well, because if the wind is coming from the forest direction and you're on the street, but just where the forest ends, it's also blocking the wind. So it's kind of like there's a building there, but there is something blocking it. So I will use both of the things. And I'm gonna define here, why shaded? I didn't mean shaded, I meant sheltered. I guess both could work, but shade means shadow, so. Regions, a new array. And I'm going to go through all of the, let's start with the forests. And for each forest, I will get the polygon, more or less the points, the polygon points. This is a polygon, but it's the same as a polyline, more or less, just that you connect it at the end, and the same function will work. But this polygon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to shift it depending on the wind direction. So I'm going to take all the forest polygons, move them a little bit according to the wind. This translation is going to have an effect on something. How much I'm going to move it, I'm just going to put a parameter there. I will try to see what happens. Let's say move amount. I don't know how much that will affect, but let's see. So the wind direction, angle, I think it was like that. I can confirm here in the console quickly. Oh no, it's degree. Deg. Yeah, okay. And I should put here probably this, put it in radians, so now it's gonna be not in radians, and it's gonna, I would need to copy it many times later, and I just prefer to store it in radians there. So now for each point of this polygon, I'm going to move it. So polygon of J now is 1 point. I'm going to say its latitude is going to be modified by a value. This value is going to be given by a vector with a given angle and a given magnitude. So this vector is going to be more or less this vector right here, but the length that I'm going to use to make the translation comes from this fixed parameter here that we can play with a little bit. So the latitude is going to be sine of the angle multiplied by the magnitude, so the move amount. And same goes for the LNG, but this is going to be cosine here. And now the polygon, I can add it to my sheltered regions. And you know, these sheltered regions could actually be a global variable. They may be, it may be useful for us, yeah, because we will also need to remove the previous sheltered regions, so otherwise we lose access to it. So let's do that now. Oh, no, not good, not good. Sheltered region polygons. So here we are working with points, but our sheltered regions and local variable, but our sheltered regions should be this kind of Google object again that we can remove from the map or not remove from the map. So same as the forests and the buildings, more or less. So now I'm going to go to where the forests are generated here, and I'm going to copy part of this code. Yeah, with this code. Okay. Okay, so forest sheltered regions is gonna be draw polygons from the sheltered regions polygons, and let's put it black. And for now, the global variable that we have there as sheltered regions is going to be just equal to this one. So the reason we have it as a global variable is because I want to remove any regions from the previous loading. So I'm going to say here, remove everything, but also from the Google map. So these are now objects that can be removed. Okay, so refreshing the page, I get errors somewhere. Okay, strange, hard to debug this. I don't know where the error is coming from. There is some nan, not a number, given to a latitude somewhere. let's debug this generate sheltered regions function by putting a breakpoint inside it somewhere. And I refresh the page. So now what do we have here? We go through all the forests. We get a polygon for the first forest. Angle is, oh, okay, angle is undefined there. Let's remove the breakpoint. So it was not angle, it was dig before the variable. Still the error is there. So it wasn't the only problem. Now the angle is okay. So my polygon looks fine. It has a LAT, LNG. And now this should do something. So I'm gonna first point seems to have more coordinates, so more precision here. So let's see if the same happens for the second point now. Yeah, so it has more precision because of these mathematical operations we do. They seem to look good. But I don't understand why it doesn't work. So let's see how this variable, how this will look like when we are out from here. So I'm gonna play now. Okay, so each sheltered region, there are numbers there. There is no none anywhere. So this is okay. But here, so this is now empty array. It won't remove anything from the map because we don't have any sheltered regions on the map. But then to this forested, seems to have no latitude, longitude values. Okay, we will need to investigate what this draw polygons function was doing, because it seems like it's not doing what I thought it's doing. So polygon points. I think this should work. I don't understand why it's not. So, anybody sees the problem? Oh, it actually does have values. Okay, let's debug this in the console like this. Sheltered regions of the first sheltered region, and let's use that get point array from polyline, because now we can see the properties. So this should be drawn somewhere. Could it be that it's not? Ah, it's here in the lake. So our offset that I wanted to use here is way too big. I hope this was understood what I wanted to do, but I think now it's going to be more understood. So this is way too big here. I didn't even think how much it's going to affect, but I refresh now. Okay, you can see it's getting down. It's still way too much. Still too much. Let's put here, maybe that. I think it's still too much. Maybe 1 is enough. So the main idea now is that, okay, the wind direction also seems to have some error because I was expecting now this region to move according to this arrow. I think it's because of that degree thing that we need to talk about. But the main idea here is that if I just do this translation and assuming now the wind would come from the north, this is now a sheltered region because the forest is blocking. So the same I'm going to do for the buildings as well. And then we will detect also if the trajectory is moving in these regions as well. How much I'm going to put this value, this is something left for experimentation. I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to leave it like this. But the idea is if the building is big, it's going to block things better. If the building is tall, it's going to block things better. In Kuopio, OpenStreetMap has only 2 places that have the height of the buildings. It's Puyo, 75 meters, and something in center that I forgot. So the rest of the buildings look just like these polygons. I don't have the height information in Overpass, OpenStreetMap. So I can't use it even if I would try. Helsinki has maybe like 100 buildings or something. It has more. Joensuu has Teatteri restaurant, I think. Teatteri, the theater and the restaurant are in the same building. Okay, so let's try to finish this now. I'm going to draw these shaded regions, sheltered regions, sorry. I would like to draw them somehow below, or let's not worry about the Z indexing now. But I do want to worry about the buildings as well. So these polygons, yeah, I want to process the buildings as well here. So buildings, and they are actually getting combined here, so no problem. I don't need this specific thing for forests. I can just say sheltered regions is equal to that. I thought that code will be more complicated. So now if I refresh the page, it should show the same kind of regions for the buildings as well. It's probably still a little bit too much because in some cases it's like I think this distance in meters would be about 20 meters or so, 10 meters or so. It could be too much. I mean, I think that you're really sheltered if you're quite next to the building. We could try making it even less. But you see here some problems, these gaps appearing. To solve this, I would need to do more trigonometry, keep these points fixed because they are not going anywhere, and then only move the other ones. It's possible to do, you just need to get orthogonal direction of the wind, and the points that are on opposite direction don't move anywhere, only the ones on the second half. too complicated for my needs. I think that this is just good enough. A little bit sloppy, but yeah. Okay, now it looks a little better. And I need to fix this wind direction, so now they should go that way. So the direction, how do I solve it now? I think I need to, it needs to be flipped. How did I solve it for this SVG yesterday? Okay, angle minus math pi divided by 2. So first you subtract 90 degrees and then. Well, let's try to subtract and then see if I need to do something else. Oh. Okay. Let's try. That one is doing a bit more complicated things with the arrow drawing, and so subtracting 90 degrees should do something.
It's angle.
Thank you. Yeah. Not good. So now it's going opposite in this way. So what is the degree really? It's 280. So that means, yeah, it's correct, but so it's 280. And I'm getting opposite because of the clockwise, counterclockwise. Okay. So, I think putting minus here will do the trick. I somehow don't have the mental capacity today to do the trigonometry. I didn't prepare for it, and okay. It may be correct. It's hard to tell because these are also slightly at an angle. But I'm gonna leave it like this. I'm not going to worry too much about it anymore. No, it's not okay. It's going upwards, and that so it's like the arrow would be a little bit like that. I'm gonna fix this later somehow. It really doesn't click today. If you can figure it out, or maybe just the latitude needs the minus there. It's last chance because the circle moves like that, but now I want it to move like that. So more or less horizontal. Sorry, the latitude I said. Yeah, no, latitude, yes, latitude has to be minus. So the horizontal is the same, but the vertical is swapped. So latitude is on the vertical as we see it here, and I think this is going to work. No, it's exactly opposite. Okay, I will let you to think about it, but probably this will fix it. I feel very unprofessional right now. Yeah, it did. I don't know if it will work for any degrees that are given there, but all right. And what else did we say that we do? Information of the route. Okay. Oh, and the show windy regions. So now the show windy regions. Oh, this one, yeah. So we need to also go through the buildings. We never implemented this. So now it's doing it for the forests, if you're in the forest. Now we also have to check if we are in the buildings. But I don't need to put it unsafe anymore, because it was decided already by the forest check. And in fact, if it is safe, it cannot become unsafe anymore. So if the point is safe here, I don't need to do processing anymore. If it's false, I need to do this check. So this is making the code more efficient. I don't need to check a point that is inside the forest if it's also inside of the building. And the last check I need to do again for these sheltered regions. With the same case here. If it's false already, if it's false, I need to process it. So let's see. Okay. So here it says there is no red point here, red points here, but it's actually because of problem with the maps. So the OpenStreetMap is not aligned perfectly with the Google map. And even this building seems to overlap the road there, so it's a bit of a problem. Doesn't seem to work that good. Here almost, if I would make this radius, that radius bigger, it would affect. Let's try it a little bit. Oh, some error it seems. I wonder what caused that. I clicked very quickly, but kind of at the border here. I will add a little bit higher value. Just to demonstrate that it works. But how did I create that error before? Okay, so now it shows here also for the sheltered area, no red points there. So now we just consider that the buildings are providing better shelter, but you see this is very sensitive even to the accuracy of the data. So now I'm having a bit concerns, how useful is it going to be really to do it this way, because look at these buildings. They are not at the same location as you can see in the background, the Google information for the buildings. Here there are 2 buildings in Google Maps. I don't know if you can see it, but in the background, faded. 2 buildings, it's only one shown by OpenStreetMap. So accuracy of the data, it's debatable how good it is. But it's something. At least the forests is very easy to detect there. So I'm happy with that. So this definitely needs some field testing. And here you can see the forest. Okay, final updates. Let's try to do it quickly. Count how many points are red. So these the proportion of the route that is windy. So in the show windy regions, okay, we mark the points that are safe. So how many are there in total? Our proportion is going to be the number of points that are unsafe. I just need to count them. So I put here a counter for all of those that are unsafe, and my proportion is going to be that divided by all the points that I would draw on the route. So this is like that. This is going to be a percent value. I could print this just below in the wind info, just below this information here. So I'm going to say 50% windy or so, something like that. I think it's enough. Let's prepare it in this way. So the wind info will get here the wind speed, but I'm going to also put a new, let's put a P, so a new paragraph. Okay, line break paragraph, it's ID equal to route info. I'm gonna just leave it empty for now, but now I'm gonna use this route info to put our windy proportion. Inside it, and let's format it. So it's gonna be equal to, let's make it as a percent value. So I will multiply that by 100 and round the value, because now it's like between 0 and 1, but I want it to show with percent here. And windy part, concatenate there. Okay, some error. Inner HTML is not a function, it's an attribute that needs to be assigned to like that. part is not needed. It's like filler word. I think windy is enough. And I think it can be the second part of the text here. Like you have the percent and then windy. So now we get something like 90% windy. Okay, but I don't know why this route info is so high. The element has a very big height there. I would like it to be closer to the meters per second, so I guess line height is something. Well, it's better, but I'm not very good at styling this part. Let's just do it like this. I guess it helps a little bit, but I still don't understand why it's not closer to the other one. So it still has this padding. Okay, maybe padding. No. Probably something to do with the font size, but I'm just gonna leave it like this now. Okay, so 90% windy, and if I move the marker, now it says 88% windy. So this kind of information, I think this could be even nicer on the map somewhere, just next to the route, but I don't do it anymore now. Okay, this is 1% windy. Wow, this is great. 1 point here where it's horrible. It's the hurricane. Okay. I don't like that this logo here has, it's sometimes dark on dark and sometimes hard to read. You could consider, still in PowerPoint it's possible to add these kind of glow effects. If I remember where it is. Maybe it's not possible to do it on pictures. I think it's possible, I just don't remember where it is. Okay, format picture from here and then glow. I can add this kind of white glow around it. Now when I save the image, and when I will move it here on the server side, it should look nicer on the different background, so it should be readable under any kind of circumstances. I could play with the glow amount, but it's better already. So these kind of small things. I will just write a to-do here, that what I would still do if I have time. Okay, the geolocation is still there, but windy info on the route. You just make a marker on top of it, and maybe you put the label of the marker to show the percent. Maybe. You know, because this red is already marking the parts that are windy, you wouldn't even need to say 90% windy. It would be enough for you to say something like this. Remove the text windy entirely, leave the 90%, but make it red, and maybe even make it bold, because the only red thing that we have in the interface is this section here, and the whole purpose of the app is the routing. So if you see here just 54, it's gonna mean definitely this red area there. So from implementation point of view, you wouldn't need to worry about translation anymore. This would still be considered, and I think the name of the app could be in English, but yeah, that would be, I think that would be enough. So no need to say windy there. I will just leave it like that. Okay, and the geolocation, I didn't do it, but it's, okay, I forgot the red color. Somehow it became very hard to concentrate in the second half, and not every day is a good day. So this is, yeah. I think since it's here, and the most important information probably, it could be bold as well, like this font weight property. Now it's a bit more visible there. Okay, I think that's it. So this is how I'm going to leave this application. It's the Joensuu wind router because the geolocation is not there for the A marker, but I think simple to adapt. And then question would be, where do you put marker B? You could of course just leave it with marker A somewhere, and you have to click for the marker B to appear. Yeah, it actually works somehow. So 54% through the buildings here, but for example, if I'm gonna walk on this side of the river, let's see, 87%, because by the river the wind comes from that direction. This is notorious place for wind in Joensuu, so somewhat it is working. The other side of the river should have some shelter from the buildings here in this case, but then again wind behaves strange, so if you consider fluid dynamics, yeah, I don't know if you know this experiment, but when I was a kid there was some kind of TV show, and if you put two bottles next to each other on the table and you blow between the bottles, they actually don't separate, they become closer. Not sure if you have ever tried that. But anyway, so you just put them there and they will actually combine, because somehow the wind will go around them and start to push from the other side. So these things happen every day, you just don't really see it or think about it. And I have doubts that for the buildings we are doing correct things here. I mean, it's always windy by the river in Joensuu, no matter how the direction is blowing. But the forested areas is definitely a real case. And inside the building is also definitely a real case. And in big cities, the navigation instructions do take you through some buildings in some cases. Also in Joensuu, but just in this small thing here that we found out. Yeah, I'm happy with the result of this. So the exercises will also have questions for you to check this, test it, comment some more, but I don't think I'm gonna update it. Maybe just a couple of lines when when my mind is working. So that's it for today. We actually end a little faster, but the break wasn't really a break, so yeah. Any questions? Okay, I will probably make the geolocation work. It's copying some code, but I don't remember where it is. Okay, see you.